How do you visually differentiate cities with powerful histories, similar hospitality offerings, and an infectious charm? Place branding. In this video, I'll give an overview of this niche field within branding, the rationale of place branding, the specific process that I use for place branding projects, as well as some components that go into each of these projects. Let's get started. What's good people? My name is Masakela and I run Mandela Made, a creative agency that specializes in visual identity design for places and spaces. This isn't just logo design, but also the visual language and environmental branding that's used to communicate a sense of place for towns, cities, and destinations, as well as hotels, restaurants, and organizations within the hospitality space. So think icons, seals, color palettes, typography selections, patterns, and other forward-facing visual elements that represent the brand, including, of course, logos. But what exactly is place branding? It's literally the idea that places like cities, regions, and states, and even countries can be branded just like the companies that we see everywhere and every day. They use a wide range of tangible and intangible tools in order to get us to buy or opt in to their products or services. Through the lens of places, municipal leaders aim to leverage what makes their place unique to craft a brand that helps to improve the public's perception of a place. Now, here's the crucial point to bring up. The visual identity is only a singular component of a brand, regardless if we're talking about a global nonprofit, a local Girl Scout troop, or a municipality. The visual identity is the tip of the proverbial iceberg. It's what's seen and what's broadcast to the general public. The brand is quite literally everything else that underpins the organization. This includes reputation, physical product packaging if you're selling something, pricing structure, advertisements, the tone of voice or the lack thereof, organizational structure, mission statement, vision statement, perceived handling of a crisis, customer experience, and a lot more. Now, as you can see, much of this is subjective, but ultimately what someone thinks about your brand is largely out of your control. There are some levers that you can pull to mitigate some of that uncertainty though. For instance, if someone buys a certain shirt brand, and it falls apart after a single wash, they will make likely a negative brand association. But if the brand offers a more quality replacement shirt or a future discount, then maybe that will restore the perception of the brand by the buyer. Marketing guru Marty Neumeyer says that a brand is a person's gut feeling about a product, service, or company. My favorite definition of a brand is attributed to Jeff Bezos. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. So basically your reputation. So someone's experience of your product, service, or company, which is essentially what a municipality is, a combination of all of those, that experience is what they will use to shape their brand perception. And for those familiar with sales funnels, you've got to get people aware that your brand exists and explain how it differs from other brands in order for them to try it and to tell others about it. And this is where visual identity design comes in. In many cases, unless a brand is already well established, the logos, icons, imagery, and the components of identity design will be someone's first exposure to the brand, possibly encouraging them to explore deeper. So while the logos and identity system aren't the brand itself, they are the most visible and identifiable expression of the brand, and thus an integral component of any organization. So why would someone look into place branding? Place branding serves as a solution to solve many of the problems that most municipalities will eventually face. Every town, county, or region experiences growing pains. Large employers may depart, a natural disaster may devastate a region, maybe nearby neighborhoods are annexed into a city, or a revitalization effort is underway to bring vibrance to an area. All of these impacts will undoubtedly affect the local populace, sometimes negatively. There may be place branding efforts by the local government to restore civic pride, to encourage the citizens to stay and build on the hopefully strong foundation that has been built over the decades. For those new municipalities like newly minted towns or neighborhoods and districts, place branding can be used to establish an identity to give residents and business owners something to hang their hats on. Another reason is simply that it's been a long while since the municipality or state or local government has rebranded itself. Trends and tastes across time they change. And while I don't suggest that clients chase trendy design styles, there are times when a visual identity is no longer appropriate. Now, this is once again subjective, but some graphical styles or fonts are visually inappropriate for the application. A great example of this is using a black letter font more fitting for a masthead of a newspaper for an identity for a luxe beachside destination, like for instance, Miami Beach. Sometimes, well, a lot of the times, cities and other government entities are looking for external investors to help fund new residential and commercial buildings, as well as utilities and infrastructure. These investors are often looking for returns on their investment, and showcasing a particular locality with a strong place brand identity can make the case for a reason for them to park their cash. Finally, place branding is useful in establishing differentiation between the over 38,000 general purpose local governments here in the United States. In reality, there are only a handful of places that can really set themselves apart from other municipalities independent of their brand identities. Think of big cities like New York City, Chicago, Miami, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles. They each have an identity that extends beyond their logos and are internationally recognized and desired. I'm sure you could probably list at least one movie or TV show that's been set in each of those cities. But to my point, here are cities in the South Florida area alone that share place names with the major cities of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. There's Miami Beach, North Miami, South Miami, West Miami, Miami Gardens, Miami Shores, Miami Lakes, Miami Springs, Lauderdale Lakes, North Lauderdale, Lauderhill, Palm Springs, Palm Bay, Royal Palm Beach, North Palm Beach, and Palm Beach Gardens. All of these towns and cities have to ensure that those unfamiliar with the area can differentiate between them and the anchor cities. And well, maybe you're not in Miami, but you manage a beach town or you represent somewhere on the coast. How does Rehoboth Beach compare to Long Beach, New York, and Long Beach, California, or Long Beach, Indiana, or Long Beach, Mississippi, or Orange Beach, Alabama? And speaking of Orange, you've probably heard of Orange County, Florida, and Orange County, California. But did you know that there's an Orange County in New York, North Carolina, Texas, and Virginia? Not to be confused with the towns of Orange in those same states, along with Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Ohio, and New Jersey has an Orange, a West Orange, an East Orange, and a South Orange. Suffice it to say that place branding is a useful tool to build familiarity with municipalities with similar names elsewhere. Let's say that you think that place branding might be a useful undertaking for a city, town, or region that you represent. What are the steps that an agency would take in order to craft a refreshed identity? I use a straightforward, people first, and comprehensive approach for every project because I'm creating marks that I want citizens to be proud to represent them for generations. The Mandela-made design process is broken into 4 phases: mapping, aggregation, design, and execution. The first 2 phases focus on the preparation, and they set the stage before a single pixel is drawn, before a single sketch is made. Mapping is a foundational phase that lays out everything that already exists within the current brand identity system. This is important because I can get a 30,000-foot view of the visual landscape that I'm dealing with. It is also important to get an understanding of how a particular municipality fits within the broader civic ecosystem. For example, how a neighborhood relates to a city and then to the broader metro area, from a reputational and a cultural standpoint. This is best done with in-person or virtual meetings with the stakeholders, residents, business owners, local elected officials, even visitors. The last step in this phase, but one of the most important, is to put together a creative brief that spells out the deliverables and goals that the client is trying to achieve once the project is completed. That way, as we progress through each of the subsequent phases and eventual revisions, I can return to the brief to ensure that we're staying aligned with what we've agreed to. Next comes the aggregation phase. Once I have a foundational understanding of the place that we're designing for, I gather numerous tangible and intangible, visual and non-visual artifacts that are unique to the locality. These artifacts can be almost anything that tie into the essence of the place, including legacy brand marks that we spoke about earlier, legacy photography, historic buildings, local flora and fauna, songs, firsthand accounts from residents, visitors, or business owners, local maps, and much more. This allows me to hone in on the strong emotional connection of a place as I move into the next phase, design. Now it's time for the fulfillment component of the project and the design phase. Here's the fun part where the identity marks come to life, but it's critical to point out that none of this can happen without completely fleshing out the mapping and aggregation phases. In the design phase, I start with putting pencil to paper to get the ideas out of my head and onto paper. Even in this age of computer-generated design, I find something very grounding and personal about sketching out a design before going to vector files. It's quicker, and I visualize the evolution of a design concept and make quick edits, all with a few strokes of the pencil. Once I get to a few directions that I like, I take those sketches into Illustrator to vectorize them. To make sure the process is as exhaustive as possible, I provide at least 3 different concepts to the client for their review and usually allow 2 to 3 rounds of revisions. I also like to provide a few mock-ups so that a client can see what a logo will look like in application as opposed to in a vacuum, just on a white sheet of paper. Finally, it's the execution phase. This is the completion of the deliverables set forth in the creative brief. Once the main logo is crafted, I can have even more fun by adding more elements to complete the visual identity system. Special care is taken here to build out logo orientations, vertical, horizontal, etc., that can fit in almost any space without compromising the legibility of the marks. Final files are delivered in a multitude of file formats, PNG, PDF, JPEG, etc., so that no matter the use, there's a variant that fits the application. Additional considerations include color palette, typography pairing, textures, patterns, imagery, and tone of voice. Those are all developed in this phase. Finally, a brand style guide is assembled to reinforce proper and consistent use of the visual identity system. Now, that's my specific design process for crafting visual identities for place brands. If you represent a town or state or other municipality and you're looking to rebrand, feel free to reach out via the link in my description. Before I end this video though, I want to explain just why a municipality seal may not be enough if you're looking to market to a broader audience. So most countries, states, counties, and municipalities utilize a seal. It's typically very prevalent on official documents, very formal, and extremely intricate. And that's not a bad thing. Seals tend to be the official outward branding of an organized government. It lets the people know that, hey, we're legit. However, when it comes to external branding, seals often run into a few issues. Most seals for government entities are extremely intricate. For example, here is the Great Seal of the United States of America. There are actually 2 designs that make up the Great Seal. This is the obverse of the seal, and the reverse features this, the Eye of Providence. All right, let's test your memory. Now that you've seen the seal, can you list 3 to 4 elements from the obverse side of the seal? If you can, then you have a great memory. And if not, don't worry. This goes hand in hand with my second point. A seal usually has loads of symbolism that is specific to the country, city, or state that it represents. For the Great Seal of the United States, there's the bald eagle, the national symbol of the US. There's the glory, this cloud-looking element, with 13 mullets, also known as stars, over the eagle's head. The eagle's beak is clutching a banner displaying the motto of the US, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one. The left talon of the eagle features an olive branch with 13 leaves and 13 olives, while the right talon clutches 13 arrows. In the center, the escutcheon, aka the shield, resembles the US flag with 13 stripes. So the 13 represents the original 13 colonies. That's pretty obvious. Now the olive branch and the arrows represent that the US prefers peace, but is always ready to defend itself. This preference for peace is indicated by the eagle's head turned toward the olive branch. There's also the color palette and the arrangement of the elements that all play a part in this ornate design. But to our earlier point, 2 things. How many people are going to remember that at first glance? And 2, very little of all of this is going to be visible on polo as an embroidered mark or as a postage stamp. Trying to embroider 13 olives on a shirt would probably be a mushy mess. So, can you guess what we use instead as a visual representation of the United States? Yep, the American flag. And yes, while it's not officially the logo of the United States of America, it is automatically a recognizable extension of the visual ecosystem of the American brand worldwide. I say all that to explain that seals are great for internal usage and formal documents, but a simpler, more identifiable mark is more ideal for external usage, marketing efforts, and establishing the core identity or sense of a city, region, state, or in this case, national pride. Plus, if someone is passing by on the road or scrolling on social media, you need something that will grab their attention or at least be memorable enough for them to pause and consider that you're marketing to them. And honestly, most seals have the same look. They are circular, full of tiny, intricate details and tiny words that somebody driving by is not going to be able to decipher at a quick glance. It's incumbent on clear and strong visual identity marks to do the heavy lifting to showcase your place or destination. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. This is what I do, visual identity design for places and spaces. I'm ramping things up, so if you're looking to rebrand or establish a brand identity for your city, town, region, DMO, country, make sure to follow the link in my bio to set up a call. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section, and bye for now.